God bless you, Patriots, and welcome to Patriot News Broadcasting. I think you guys are some of the most honorable knights of the Patriot community. You've had patience for so very long, and you can't really be much of a knight without honor. Otherwise, you're just kind of a killer with a sword. And Trump, as sort of the leader of this thing, he's had the biggest sword of all this time, all his red folders and all his files and all the things he could have swung around and stomped these guys out publicly from the beginning. But he also knew that it would create this civil war where suddenly neighbor fought neighbor. You might be killing each other over which sign you've got out in your yard for president type of thing. And it would have been really bad. I think that makes Trump a pretty fine knight in my opinion. But now I believe we're to the point where it's time to swing the sword. Let's take a look at some awesome things today. Got some amazing posts to look at. First, if this is right, this hearing should have happened today. Senator Johnson used this time to share some big news. Revealed that high-quality vax versus unvax study will finally be made public on Tuesday. That's today. Let's see what he had to say. I wonder if this happened.
We're going to be holding a hearing next Tuesday on a study done by a high-integrity healthcare facility that shows, that actually looked at vaccinated versus unvaccinated. Very high quality study. I'm not going to steal the thunder of Aaron Siri, who's going to be testifying on this. I think you're aware of this study that shows the vaccinated population far more prone to chronic illness than people completely unexposed to vaccines. That is just one example of how science has been corrupted by the way, the study was conducted, and when they conducted this, no matter what the results are, we're going to release this. They got the results in 2000. It is yet to be released. We're going to enter that in the record on Tuesday.
25 years late, better late than never, right? Let's look at some of these awesome posts, what we got to look at this week. Today's 999, the 999 portal. 99, 2 and 2 and 5, 9, 999. Say it again with me. 999. Will it never happen again in your lifetime? I don't know. Don't think about it that much. Look at tomorrow's Delta. Buckle up, buttercups. Who said buckle up, buttercups? Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador. It's getting pretty cool, huh? It's about to get bumpy. 0% chance that he isn't read in on some level as to what's transpiring. Oh, yeah. Without a doubt. Trump's going to this Yankees game in New York City on the September 11th anniversary. I don't know. I have a weird feeling about that game. 9/11's also Christ's birthday, according to what everyone says. We got a big day ahead. The Day of Trumpets. What do you guys think about what could or couldn't transpire this week? Most political turmoils in UK, France, Japan, and Thailand. Japan prime ministers resign. The French government's collapse. French prime minister to resign. The UK parliament's been reshuffled. Thailand's prime minister removed from office. I like this from Kim Clement, Once Upon a Time. It will begin in France, and it will be called a revolution. Let's look at some of this news here today. Trump posted about this story of course. The man accused of killing the Ukrainian refugee on the North Carolina commuter train, charged with a federal crime, possibly facing the death penalty. Let's take a look.
I'm national correspondent Kayla Gaskins in Washington. The brutal murder of a Ukrainian refugee on a light rail train in Charlotte, North Carolina, is raising questions about public safety and why the suspect, who had an extensive criminal history, was not behind bars. The newly released video of the brutal murder of 23-year-old Irina Zarutska in Charlotte, North Carolina, igniting a political firestorm over crime and punishment. Critics zeroing in on the fact a judge had released the murder suspect, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown Jr., on cashless bail when Brown was arrested back in January for misusing 911.
This cashless bail started a wave in our country where a killer kills somebody and is out on the street by the afternoon. In many cases, going out and killing again.
The cashless bail was granted to Brown despite the fact he had an extensive and violent record with at least 14 prior arrests and years spent in and out of prison.
What initiatives like cashless bail say to the public is criminals are more important than crime victims.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy laying blame on the Charlotte, North Carolina mayor and other public officials for failing to properly punish the suspect.
I agree. It does kind of make it look like it's more focused on the suspect and not the victim. Trump said this also.
The young woman who was stabbed this morning or last night in Charlotte by a madman, a lunatic, just got up and started. It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible, but just viciously stabbed. She's just sitting there. So they're evil people. We have to be able to handle that. If we don't handle that, we don't have a country.
And that's exactly what ICE and all these agencies are doing. And we're going to look at that in a minute. Update in Chicago. It sounds like they may be going into Boston at this point, too. Let's look at this. You've probably seen this all over the news here about this Trump letter or a note or a birthday card. Looks ridiculous to me. It's not even handwritten. I'm not even going to bother to try and read it. But what do you think they're doing here? What do you think exactly is the point? MJ True says it's the same Wall Street Journal that says this gay Epstein birthday card is real, but never reported on the Ashley Biden diary entry. It says she was molested by her father. What do you think they're doing here with this exactly? What's the point? Well, they know that the Epstein files are coming out. They can't hold them forever. And they know Trump's not in there. And they're starting to do damage control. They've made this up. I mean, this is from Bill Clinton. I can't begin to read it, but people were pointing this out. It says something about his childish curiosity, that the drive to make a difference. I mean, what the fuck? Even J.D. Vance said, "Forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullshit. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sounds like Donald Trump?" Yep, let's take a deeper look.
All right, I'm Eddie Mack here live now from Vox. Let's shift gears to a very important breaking news story as Democrats in the House Oversight have released a letter that President Trump denies he sent to Jeffrey Epstein. Is this here on Live Now from Fox of this from the Democrats, the House Oversight Committee saying, here it is. We got Trump's birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein that the president said doesn't exist. Trump talks about a wonderful secret the two of them shared. What is he hiding? Release the files. And you can see the letter there on the left and calling into question some.
They would have done better if they hadn't have tried to make it sound gay. I mean, they pushed too far. They pushed it too far. It's just too ridiculous, basically. It's pretty sad the tactics they'll go to. The birthday book. They claim it's more than just Trump, of course. They're targeting lots of people. Roger Stone, Alan Dershowitz, all kinds of people. And that's because they're out talking too. Roger Stone's had things to say. We're going to look at some of that later, but jumping back into a few of our stories here. Former Meta employee files a whistleblower suit for alleged security flaws at WhatsApp during a test conducted with Meta's central security team. The former employee alleged he discovered that approximately 1,500 WhatsApp engineers had unrestricted access to user data, including sensitive personal information, and employees could move or steal such data without detection or an audit trail.
California, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, and Tennessee. A major lawsuit from a former top security executive at WhatsApp. Yesterday, the former employee filed the lawsuit alleging that Meta violated cybersecurity regulations and retaliated against him when he reported those failures. The employee reports he discovered approximately 1,500 WhatsApp engineers had unrestricted access to user data, including sensitive personal information, and that the employees could move or steal that data without being detected.
You know, wasn't Zuckerberg just at the White House? Trump's going to have to call him back. What are you doing, man? Zuck. So Greta Thunberg said her Gaza-bound boat on fire. I told you, didn't I, that it was a bad idea for her to announce what they're doing. We're headed back to Gaza, everybody. We're going on this little flotilla, and we're going to be here. I told you that was a stupid idea, and I don't know what it looked like. They dropped a flare. How do you do that from a drone, I guess? They look fine to me, but as far as I know, they rerouted to Tunisia, but, you know, they shouldn't be going to Gaza to begin with. They're trying to get people out of Gaza.
To developing news on a boat that's reportedly carrying Swedish activist Greta Thunberg bound for Gaza has caught fire after reportedly being struck by a drone. It was travelling in the so-called Freedom Flotilla when one of the main vessels, known as the Family Boat, was hit off the coast of North America. It is expected to reach Gaza in the middle of this month.
Shouldn't announce where you're going, Greta. You should keep it to yourself if you actually want to get to the destination. Oh, this situation in Nepal's just gotten out of hand. Aside from the Prime Minister resigning and them setting fire to the Parliament building and dragging the Finance Minister out in his underwear to the river, there's even rumor that the Prime Minister's wife was beaten to death. Nepal's finance minister stripped of clothes and chased into a river by angry protesters. It just got worse and worse. They drug him out of his office with a hood over his head, chased him in the river. And keep in mind, this all started over social media. I hope you remember that part.
And we are following developments in Nepal. Unrest is escalating in the South Asian country. This is Nepal's parliament building set on fire. Protesters there, they say the government is corrupt. And people are also angry about what we told you about yesterday, a recent social media ban in the country. So let's bring in CBS News correspondent Chanel Call for the latest in all of this. Chanel, we understand Nepal's prime minister has now resigned. Can you tell us more about that?
That's right. We've been closely watching this story, Mugo, since yesterday, and the situation in Nepal intensifying today. The country's Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigning after clashes between protesters and police continued overnight. The government also now notably rolling back that social media ban that sparked those deadly protests. But those...
Well, they're rolling back the social media ban. You can all go home. And next time, keep in mind that you should wear better underwear in case you get pulled out of your office and dragged down to the river and thrown in. I don't know the whole story yet. They did, somebody was alleging that the prime minister's wife was beaten to death, but I don't know if that's true or not. Nepal's military announces to assume responsibility for law and order beginning at 10 p.m. their time and violent protests in the country. This was the alleged here. The wife of the Nepalese prime minister, former Nepalese prime minister Rana Dubba, has been confirmed dead. See, I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but hell of a story. Israel decided to attack and target Hamas officials in Qatar. Not a very good situation there either. I like this. Israel takes full responsibility in quotes, and then below it says, Israeli source who spoke to CNN said the United States was informed ahead of the strike. That seems to be up for debate. In a phone call, President Trump strongly condemned the strike on Qatar when talking with their leader. We will see what happened with Doha.
So we've got breaking news from the Middle East, and this is significant. Moments ago, the Israeli military saying that it conducted a strike against senior Hamas leadership. Multiple explosions reported not in Gaza, but in the capital city of Doha in Qatar. In Tel Aviv, Greg Palcott's watching that story. And Greg, it's early. What have you learned from there? Hello.
Well, Bill, this war just stepped up by one more step. In the past half hour or so, we have gotten reports that for the very first time, Israel has struck Doha, Qatar, aiming at the Hamas leadership there. Remember, Qatar is one of the two mediating countries, Qatar and Egypt, trying to come up with an end to this war. And now...
Didn't seem like a good idea, and it's not been confirmed whether or not they killed any of the leadership or not. It sort of varies by who you're listening to. As for Gaza City, they issue a final warning to leave.
The Israeli military has now issued a complete and immediate evacuation order for all of Gaza City, telling residents in Arabic, dropping leaflets on the city, telling people that they must leave their homes and head south to a so-called safe zone in southern Gaza. However, hundreds of thousands of Palestinians remain in the city. Some say they will not go despite the intensifying Israeli operation. Humanitarian groups warn that the people of Gaza are already facing starvation and that this could be a humanitarian catastrophe if Israel pushes deeper into Gaza City and pushes ahead with this offensive. But that is exactly what Prime Minister Netanyahu says the army intends to do. He spoke in a very...
They need to give them a place to go. I think at this point, if you have kids and you're there, it's probably time to leave. But you know how that goes with people. Saw this in the intro. The Michigan judge dismissed charges against fake electors who signed papers saying Trump won the state in 2020. You saw them talking about the corruption there. I wanted to show you this real quick regarding the Blitz, the Operation Midway Blitz in Chicago.
The Trump administration is launching what it calls Operation Midway Blitz. The White House says it's going after what it calls the worst of the worst criminals who are here in the country.
The worst of the worst are going after the worst of the worst.
Legally. And hundreds of Homeland Security officials will help carry out this operation. But some city and state leaders say they don't want it. It's drawn a number of protests even before the promised operation was launched. Here's more of what state leaders are saying.
What we are experiencing today is not normal. people going out in the street and being snatched from their family members is not normal.
Meanwhile, President Trump has not deployed the National Guard to
As opposed to going out and having your family member shot in your hands.
Chicago, like we've seen happen in D.C. and Los Angeles, but here on the ground in Chicago, that is a real fear. The White House also releasing a statement naming some of the people that they are targeting in this operation, including a 47-year-old who they say has been convicted of battery and aggravated assault, as well as driving under the influence. Back to you.
Going after the worst of the worst. That's what they do. Sadly, around this time last night, there was a horrible bus crash loaded with a high school softball team.
We go to that big developing story in Minco. 6 people are in critical condition after a school bus crashed last night. Really hard details here. That tells the story too. Look how many first responders were at this scene. Young softball players are now fighting for their lives. They were on the bus when it happened. It crashed west of Minco. 13 people were on board at the time. Minco Public Schools decided to close today. KOCO's Dakota Wapakichi has been at the scene this morning. He just heard from the superintendent.
We're following sad news out of Minco, a school bus full of softball players crashing and rolling west of town. The video you're seeing here is from State Highway 152 where this bus crashed. It happened Monday night around 8 p.m. OHP leading the investigation here is what we know is that there are several student athletes injured and in critical condition in this, including a coach. We saw investigative markings on the ground from the bus into that field, including one leading to a dead deer on the side of the road.
Broken Bones Hill.
Interesting. Did they swerve to miss a dead deer? I don't know. A lot of people got injured. Not political, I know, but it's weird. My viewer count keeps jumping up and down and up and down. Sweden's health minister, Elizabeth Lann, collapsed during a live press conference. It's kind of embarrassing for the health minister.
Frågor som betyder mest för människors tilltro till vår gemensamma välfärd. Tack.
Tack för det. Och nu tror jag Jakob ska lära oss allt om paragraf 5-förordnanden. Eller hur, Jakob?
Ja, det tänker jag vi har i en särskild övning möjligen. Hälso- och sjukvården.
So far, I haven't seen any other details of what that was about, but I'm sure you can use your imagination. Taking a quick look down in Brazil, first of 5 judges in Bolsonaro coup trial votes to convict.
President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva marked Brazil's Independence Day at the head of a military parade. Notably absent, his predecessor, Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro is under house arrest as Brazil's high court deliberates whether he plotted a coup after losing the 2022 election. Lula had harsh words for the former president.
The role of some Brazilian politicians who encourage attacks on Brazil is unacceptable. They were elected to serve the Brazilian people, but they only defend their own interests. They are traitors to the nation, and history will not forgive them.
Looks like they're getting their crap together down there. They know how to do it. We'll just put you on house arrest. And I don't know. iPhone users, the iPhone 17 came out. Starts at $800, so holy hell, right? Also, though, if you are an iPhone user, they just came out with the negative 48 calculator. You should totally check it out. It's only on Apple phones, as far as I know. It's an app, but check it out. You got to put the negative sign, negative, and the number 48 calculator. Check this out. A black serial killer in California disguised himself with a white mask to conceal his black identity. Isn't that wild? He did a pretty good job, didn't he? These masks are getting kind of dangerous, huh? SpaceX buys $17 billion in EchoStar spectrum to supercharge the Starlink direct-to-cell. Elon Musk SpaceX struck a deal with EchoStar Corporation for 50 megahertz of exclusive U.S. spectrum and global MSS licenses, a move that supercharges its Starlink direct-to-cell service worldwide. Supposedly, though, as far as all that Q-phone stuff goes, all that, I don't think you even have to change your phone. I think it's all about the quantum satellites, and they just have to turn it on. You remember Trump sort of blew up a drug boat the other day. Jerry Nadler's demanding that President Trump face criminal charges for ordering a strike on the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua boat, while Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois insinuates that President Trump could target and kill American citizens too, claiming the strike on the Venezuelan boat was just a dry run. I guess they want your children doing drugs. These people are so ignorant. Their evilness, you can't hide it anymore. They can't hide how evil and corrupt and stupid they are. Department of Homeland Security Insider Threat Program has identified a second group of FEMA employees who use their official government equipment to engage in sexually explicit conduct on government devices at some of our government's most classified facilities. These employees who had access to highly sensitive systems spent their duty hours sexting strangers, including foreign nationals, on encrypted government devices. Such conduct is unacceptable. These employees have been terminated. Wow. They really think they weren't going to get caught, I guess, huh? I like this from the Homeland Security Department. Remember who you are, American. Report foreign invaders. It's your duty. It's part of your oath. And this was interesting. From Long Beach today, the port, dozens of shipping containers spilled into the ocean after an apparent accident. We'll take a look at that now.
And I'm assignment manager Mark Liu here at the desk. Got some breaking news to tell you about out of the port of Long Beach. A container ship has had multiple cargo containers tip over the side into the ocean. Let's go to live pictures from SkyCow. What you're seeing here is a very large container ship. This is the Mississippi. That's the name of that cargo vessel. And you can see down there what appears to be Long Beach police on scene in their boat. It looks like about 50 to 100 cargo containers have toppled over the side of the Mississippi here, including onto what appears to be some kind of a vessel on its side, and then to the rear of that vessel here. Now, the good news is I have just gotten off the phone with a spokesperson for the Port of Long Beach. They say they have no reported injuries here. That is very good news. News just into our desk. No reported injuries here, but a massive cleanup of multiple cargo containers that have fallen into the...
They look like they're all floating. My God, what if there were children in there? You know, that was my first thought when I seen that. What if there's children in there? I wouldn't doubt it if that was some of the police and first responders' thoughts too, you know. I mean, I don't know how well they check these things or anything, but messed up situation. Speaking of which, here's another messed up situation. God, I can't speak. Coming out of the O'Keefe Media Group, Roger Stone has stated that Bill Barr ran the cocaine trafficking operations for the CIA in and out of Mena, Arkansas. Project Veritas is reporting that Bill Barr had an undisclosed CIA role linked to a visa fraud scheme. Let's look deeper.
It's very easy to know why I am being prosecuted and no one else. It's very easy. I called the FBI to report Bill Barr and Armstrong Williams. In my mind, it is like if the FBI receive the thousands of documents that I have, that I can show with phone calls, pictures, all these meetings that we are doing, I thought they will investigate it. But no, of course not.
Any additional units have had to assist fire for the cardiac arrest 916 Beverly Drive?
I am afraid. I am afraid. for my life. He also threats my family. If someone has the balls to put in a writing to go to kill you, I think the person is able to definitely kill someone. I decided to report to the FBI in the summer of 2023 because I cannot be a part of this. I cannot be a part of everything is going on in this office. I cannot be a part of these fake companies.
Reese Cosmetics? Nobody's there.
No one is there. I cannot be a part of meetings when you're putting innocent people in jail. And that was my decision. It was I just cannot be a part of this. So in August of 2023, that's when the FBI showed up at my house and they got from me, I have a list here of things. At the same week they raised my house, I met with Russell Kalberg. And Kalberg was he had the case set up. He didn't want to talk. He didn't want to hear nothing, which is super strange for prosecutors. He asked me about the burner phones and the notes they cannot find out. And I explained to him I'm not going to give him nothing because I don't need to. They need to find out if they want to. He was trying to put me to sign this plea deal. And the plea deal was basically I said for everyone that I'm guilty, that I did what they claimed that I did, and don't talk about the case. And he said, I'm sure you did a visa fraud against Julian's parents, Vivian and Peter. So I started to realize the visa was fraudulent when they moved to the U.S. That was back in 2022, if I'm not wrong. They moved to the U.S., they are living in the U.S., and they are now working in the company. The company don't exist. Bill Barr knows the companies that they launched for the visa was not real companies. And I'm everything that I did was because Armstrong and Clyde told me to do it. And I don't think that's the most criminal thing that happened in that office. I think the most criminal thing happened in that office was all the meetings against the people involved in January 6th or all the meetings about RICO case. I think that's really criminal. In my mind, it is if the FBI receive the thousands of documents that I have, that I can show with phone calls, meetings, pictures, all these meetings that we are doing, I thought they will investigate it. But no, of course not. Of course, when I reported and the FBI agent told me they will get back to me, I trust that. And then a few weeks later, the FBI bring a case against me. In the meeting that I had with Russell Kalberg, when I started to learn to come after me, he asked me about the burner phones and the notes because the FBI cannot find it in my house. And since that time, they're always looking for that. So Armstrong contacted me asking for the burner phones. I think Clyde did that too. I have proof of everything. On May 9 of 2025, I received a message from Clyde Vanell, Armstrong's attorney. He's basically saying, I know that Armstrong is being threatened you, but you know that I treat you better than Armstrong treat you. You know that unlike Armstrong, I am a peacemaker. What I can negotiate with you so we can forget about this case and each go our separate ways without speak about each other. So until today, after more than a year, I still receive message from Armstrong or people who works for Armstrong. And basically all the time, they're trying to negotiate with me to give them everything that I have. The burner phones, the notes, my devices. And I think it got a little worse when my attorney was able to bring my case to DOJ. And the most interesting part of this, it is we show these death threats for the prosecutor, for Russell Kalberg. And we show for the agent, for the FBI who started the case. And they always say they will investigate it, but they never did. And when Kalberg saw the death threats that I received, he basically say he cannot do nothing because I am not an American citizen, and he cannot investigate Armstrong because he's a journalist. I am afraid. I am afraid for my life. I am afraid because for me, if someone has the balls to put in a writing, to go to kill you, I think the person is able to definitely kill someone. He also threats my family. When he threats my family, I think that's too much. That's what I think. To be alive now, I have security at my house 24 hours. If I want to go to any place, I need to bring the security with me, and that's the life that I have right now.
Alpha 211, any additional units are back to assist fire for the cardiac arrest, 916 Beverly Drive.
Detectives in Alexandria say Jessica Aber, the former U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, likely died from natural causes. She was found inside her home in Alexandria Saturday morning. They say right now there is not any evidence suggesting foul play. Not any evidence suggesting foul play. Not any evidence suggesting foul play.
What a creepy world we live in, huh, Patriots? You know, it's a sad situation right there. Bill Barr being exposed as the dirtbag that he is, though, running drugs into this country for a very long time. I know this isn't very political, and we're going to jump right back into political, but I wanted to look at this story for just a second. A Michigan mother, you know, it's the beginning of the school year, and you really got to keep an eye on what's going on at these schools with your kids. This woman, thank God she was keeping an eye out.
A Wayne County mom calling for answers and accountability after her daughter with special needs went missing from her first grade class. And she says it is not the first time it's happened. Fox News' Dave Kinchin is now live in Plymouth with the story. I mean, any parent would just be beside themselves going through this.
Yeah, that's really the word here. This mother you're about to meet, absolutely stunned. This has happened not once, not twice, but 3 times now. In fact, it was a friend of hers who called Fox 2 because the whole community, they say they've simply had enough. We'll show you the video right now. Crystal Clark of Van Buren Township says that the staff at Bentley Elementary School in Canton lost her daughter for the 3rd time. Today, she says she got a call from the school administration asking if her daughter Audrina had her tracker on. The mother said yes, it's in her coat. Turns out, she says, someone at the school never put her daughter's coat on her and that they later could not find her at all. Her mother says she drove to the school in absolute sheer panic, only to find out a short time later, thankfully, she was found safe and sound in the nearby woods. Now, Crystal, the mother, says this has happened twice last year alone, and then a 3rd time now. She's demanding change.
I'm holding it together right now because I've been a wreck all day crying because she's my life. And she was found in the woods last year, covered in all kinds of stuff. She was soaking wet. She was found in the woods this time too. And I have anxiety like crazy, and I'm a nervous wreck thinking, what if she gets hit by a car? What if someone kidnaps her? There's just no excuse.
Well, the Plymouth Canton School District responded with a statement that says, as always, the safety and well-being of our students and staff remain the top priority at Plymouth Canton Community Schools. During recess today, as students were being called back inside, one student ran toward a wooded area on school property. The Canton Township Police Department was contacted as a precaution as staff located and safely brought the student back. At no point did the student leave school grounds. The district will continue working closely with school staff to review and strengthen playground procedures and protocols to ensure the highest level of safety for our students. Of course, we'll let you know if there are any, what policy changes, if any, are made here tonight on The Edge. The mother says more about how she wants the entire campus to be fenced in for the safety of not just her daughter, but all of the students. That part of the story tonight on The Edge. Right now, we're live. Dave Kinchin, Fox 2 News.
I was just reading that, remember those videos we saw yesterday in the intro in Texas of people going around talking about Sharia law? Well, the governor's now banned Sharia law in Texas because of it. Awesome. And if you drive a Ford, you might want to look up the recalls because they've just issued another one. That makes them the most recalled vehicle this year, followed closely by Volkswagen vehicles. This one affects quite a few models, and it has to do with the rear view camera may display a distorted, inverted, or blank image when the vehicle is in reverse, according to the recall notice. So if you use one of those fancy little reverse cameras in your Ford, you might want to see if you're part of the recall. I wanted to show you this since we were talking about your children and stuff. Sometimes they hit you up to go to concerts, and you may not be following the music they're listening to. Maybe you should. We had the Blood Moon the other day. This was Lady Gaga's performance, a brief clip of it. Does that not just make you sick? People in cages, dance or die. Who the hell goes to that, let alone let their children go to that? That's the thing, parents don't know. Your kid comes up, hey, I want to go to a Lady Gaga concert. You'd better be doing your homework and looking into this crap. Supreme Court's agreed to consider Trump tariffs appeal on an expedited basis. This is actually good news.
Let's talk now about a new developing story as the Supreme Court will soon hear, soon being November, whether the tariffs can remain in effect. And of course, this is reaching the highest court in the land, coming in here on social media saying the Supreme Court agrees to hear Trump's appeal in the tariffs case on a highly expedited basis. Or arguments will be during the first week of November, and at Supreme Court pace, that is very, very fast, as they are granted an unusually quick hearing on President Donald Trump's sweeping tariffs, putting a policy at the center of his economic agenda squarely before the nation's highest court. The tariffs will remain in place in the lead up to the argument set for November, as the court agreed to take up the appeal from the Trump administration after a lower court found most of his tariffs were illegal. Small businesses and states challenged them also agreed to the accelerated timetable. They say Trump's import taxes on goods from nearly every country in the world has nearly driven their businesses to bankruptcy. Two lower courts have agreed that Trump didn't have the power to impose tariffs on nearly every country on earth under his emergency powers law, though an appeals court left them in place for now. The Trump administration asked the justices to intervene quickly, arguing the law gives him the power to regulate imports. Striking down the tariffs would put the country, quote, on the brink of economic collapse, as this will be heard there by the Supreme Court, and will come before a court that has been reluctant to check President Trump's extraordinary power in the executive.
So we kind of knew that was coming anyway. November, they're going to look at the tariffs. They know it would be detrimental at this point to start shifting all the good things Trump's doing. Gotta say, I'm pretty proud of the Supreme Court for the most part lately. Police say they seized 23 guns from the home of a 13-year-old who appeared to idolize mass shooters. Talk about a weird story here.
Authorities arrested a 13-year-old boy who they say was infatuated with mass shootings and had access to guns and ammunition. Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa tells us what investigators found inside his home and why the Pierce County Sheriff's Office calls it disturbing.
Gun after gun after gun. These are just some of the weapons the public information officer with the Pierce County Sheriff's Office, Carly Capetto, says were found inside of the home of the 13-year-old arrested over the weekend.
Several firearms were just around the home, hanging on the walls. It was very clear there was some negligence in terms of gun ownership.
She says approximately 30 to 40 guns were seized, along with boxes and boxes of ammunition. But that's not all.
Tons of evidence that was found from the bedroom in terms of inscriptions and writings and things that would indicate he had targets and obsession with previous mass shooters that we've had in our history.
Authorities took the boy into custody early Saturday morning after receiving information about disturbing posts made on social media.
There was evidence that showed this subject was infatuated with mass shootings, had access to firearms.
As of Monday afternoon, the boy was here at Pierce County Juvenile Detention Center, facing several charges, including attempted threat to bomb or injure property, unlawful possession of a firearm in the second degree, and unlawful possession of fireworks. Capetto told Fox 13 it doesn't appear there was a specific school or event targeted, but says they're still going through evidence, and that includes electronic devices, so that could change. She adds the boy was not enrolled in any school district. His last known school district was Franklin Pierce. We reached out, and they confirmed the 13-year-old last attended one of their schools prior to 2021.
We have not had an individual in our jurisdiction act out in a mass shooting way, and I would say it's partly because we take all these threats very seriously and we don't allow them to get to that point. And it's very clear that we disrupted something.
Shira Matsuzawa, Fox 13 News.
As for the parents, we asked Capetto if the parents or guardians were cooperative. She told us they were mostly cooperative at the time the warrant was served, but detectives still need to interview them. It'll be up to the prosecutor's office if they face any charges in this case.
So you can see we've got some problems with these judges, and I want to take a look at a couple things tied to that, starting with this issue.
Did you know the judge that released this guy didn't even go to law school? Yeah, not even a lawyer. Yeah, these magistrate judges that are making a decision to release these people without bail, yeah, they're not even lawyers. They didn't go to law school. They didn't pass the bar. They just got appointed to be judges. No training required. Oh yeah, and that's the case in states like North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, Texas, Arizona. They don't even have to be lawyers, but they can be judges. They don't have to go to law school. They don't have to pass the bar. However, they sit in judgment over people who did. How the fuck is this a thing? How the fuck do we have judges who didn't even study the law? How did this ever become a thing? That's one of the most insane things I've ever heard. Like, to be somebody's lawyer, you have to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. Like, just to represent a client, you have to do that. To be able to prosecute that person, you got to go to law school, you got to pass the bar. But to be the judge, to be the person overseeing these lawyers, to be the ultimate arbiter of...
Isn't that incredible? It's something you never would have thought of, but sort of like the cops not having to know the law. And this sort of ties into it a little bit.
tricky part in all of this is what I touched on last Friday, and that is judges and prosecutors, remember, generally live under a very comfortable shield in our government known as sovereign immunity, a common law doctrine that says officials acting in their official capacities are not liable for their official actions. And then, of course, there's state and local laws that further protect these officials. So when a judge signs off on DeCarlos Brown Jr., there are no ramifications to that judge for what that criminal might do once released. Understandable the first, second, and maybe the third time, but the 14th, 15th, and 16th time? This isn't a Charlotte thing either. This is a nationwide problem. Here's Chicago.
Left Miles with several broken bones in her face, as well as a concussion. According to police, she was assaulted by 32-year-old William Livingston. A record search produced 13 mugshots of Livingston going back to 2012. A large number of those arrests for aggravated assault and battery of both women and police officers, something Miles found out after the fact.
Like, what is enough? You know, what does someone have to do where he's going to be, they're going to be held accountable?
According to online records, Livingston's history of random acts of violence against women goes back 8 years. In 2017, he was accused of randomly attacking 2 women months apart. Both cases were dropped. In 2022, Livingston was sentenced to 5 years in prison after prosecutors said he punched and attempted to rob 4 women within 20 minutes.
Republican Congressman Randy Fine, who you'll hear on this show soon, announced on X he's introduced legislation holding judges accountable when violent repeat offenders they release commit new crimes. Quote, "It's easy to release criminals when you're protected by an armed bailiff at all times. The rest of us aren't so lucky. Those 12-plus judges that released DeCarlos Brown Jr. should have their day in court, too." Elon Musk weighed in. Let's change the law. Between now and then, name and shame the DA.
All right, moving forward, we got a couple more interesting things to look at and a cool announcement to look at. Trump had said this, finally this evening, about the situation with Israel and Qatar. This morning, the Trump administration was notified by the U.S. military that Israel was attacking Hamas, which was very unfortunately was located in a section of Doha, the capital of Qatar. This decision was made by Prime Minister Netanyahu. It was not a decision made by me. Unilaterally bombing inside Qatar, a sovereign nation and close ally of the United States that is working hard and taking risks to broker peace, does not advance Israel or America's goals. However, eliminating Hamas, who have profited off the misery of those living in Gaza, is a worthy goal. I immediately directed Special Envoy Steve Witkoff to inform the Qataris of the impending attack, which he did, however, unfortunately, too late to stop it. I view Qatar as a strong ally and a friend of the U.S. and feel very badly about the location of the attack. I want all of the hostages and bodies of the dead released and this war to end now. I also spoke to Netanyahu after the attack. The Prime Minister told me that he wants to make peace. I believe this unfortunate incident could serve as an opportunity for peace. I'm sure it did this thing when I happen to get on their soil, blah, blah. Flynn talked about it on Bannon. Let's take a look.
When I hear Occupy Gaza, I hear American troops occupy because the IDF can't do it, and the IDF chief of staff has been adamant. These cabinet meetings have been at each other's throat. To Netanyahu's kid, son, who's 30-some years old, is tweeting out there's a mutiny and or a coup d'etat happening with the IDF against his father as the head of the Israeli government. Your thoughts on all this?
Yeah. So number one, I finished with the war in Ukraine is lost. That war was so poorly managed, and so many Ukrainian soldiers' lives were lost because of corrupt political leadership, period. And frankly, we don't have a leg to stand on because we've had many people over the last number of years that have been over there, on CODELs, staff DELs, whatever DELs you want to call them, and they all know it. It's just been one big money sieve. So that's where I stand on Ukraine, and it's sad. It's a sad situation. Israel, the Israeli government, and I know that there's some machinations and there's got to be some big problems right now internal, and Netanyahu's dealing with it with the IDF. they're going to have to do some soul searching, and I mean immediate soul searching, because the 7th of October was a date, that they still have not been able to, and there's an investigation going on, and I've already heard from some of the soldiers that were told to stand down and the exact hours. So something bad happened, and it was an inside thing. I don't know, again, so that's a bombshell right there. So the internal situation in Israel has got to be done with a
hold it, hang on. Whoa.
It's pretty big right there. Everyone thinks Trump's for Israel. It's General Flynn right there telling you that they know that October 7th was an inside job. It's a big deal.
Whoa. Hang on. You can't drop a bomb like that. Mike Flynn, your former head of DIA, first national security advisor, President Trump, a revered figure globally. You're saying your sources are telling you on the investigation that they're trying to slow down and slow walk over there because we're coming up on the 2nd anniversary of it. You're saying that you're hearing there's testimony or documents or actual evidence that certain elements of the Israeli military were told to stand down? Because I know from people I know, this is a very contentious area and it's going to be explosive. Are you hearing the same thing?
Steve, you can go back to interviews that I did like the next day and the following week after October 7th in multiple broad alternative media, where I said something went wrong. Because, Steve, I have personally walked that border. I have been down at those areas, and I know the details of how the Israelis, one of the most secure borders in the world, how they do their operations. So I know that. So something broke down, and it wasn't because of mistakes. So that's number one. This internal machinations that are going on right now, what's going to have to happen? They're going to have to come to grips with this, because I'm going to tell you, the American people, they're getting tired of it. They're getting tired of this constant, Israel. I mean, I'm the biggest fan. I would, I have been to Israel many times. I have, served alongside them. I have done things with them, certainly on the intelligence side. So I'm their biggest fan. But the American people are not. And the American people are so tired of all of the craziness and our involvement in these things.
But Mike.
Mike Flynn there. All right. Looking into some other news going around here. Trump signs a landmark executive order to cap drug prices in the most significant action in a generation to rein in misleading pharmaceutical ads. This will require Big Pharma to display all health risks of their drugs in TV ads. They now have to list all side effects. It will force pharma companies to decide if they want to run a 4-minute ad or not. Won't be so pretty now. Let's listen to RFK.
The president just signed an executive order making some news here when it comes to pharmaceutical ads.
The president just signed an executive order that's an historic change in the way that pharmaceutical advertising is done on television. And the order basically reinstates, or gives us now the opportunity to reinstate the 1997 rules. Prior to 1997, pharmaceutical advertisers were required to put all the side effects on their ads. Many of them didn't advertise because it lengthened because of what it did to the length of the advertising. And the removal of that requirement in 1997, FDA changed the rule to allow them to report the side effects on a website or on a telephone. And they only had to report a few of them on television. And that triggered a proliferation of these ads. There's only 2 countries in the world that allowed direct-to-consumer advertising by pharmaceutical companies on television. We're one of those countries. New Zealand is the other. It's had a disastrous impact on human health, on people's relationships with their doctors, and really on the entire gestalt where Americans are led to believe that there's a pill for every ill, and that you don't have to exercise, you don't have to pay attention to your diet. Whatever goes wrong with you, you can fix with a drug.
So how much does this change the dynamic for pharmaceutical companies that have been advertising on all kinds of channels and even online? They're going to have to do a lot more specifically.
They're going to have to report all their side effects. In some cases, that might create an advertisement that's 4 minutes long. Back prior to 1997, advertising in magazines had page after page after side effects reported. And so we don't know exactly what it will do, but we know it's going to be better for the health of Americans.
It's significant.
All right, and a couple more things here we got to look at. Today's UAP hearing, we revealed new military surveillance video showing a UAP splitting a Hellfire missile in mid-air. Not a single witness was aware of any U.S. military technology capable of such a feat. Every witness described the footage as extremely scary. Should we look at this footage? Let's take a look.
I'd like to ask the committee to replay that video that Burleson had played earlier. I want to ask every witness here, specifically ones that have sensor training or have been able to recognize some of this movements real quick. So if you guys can please roll that real quick. Okay, while this is still rolling, Mr. Nusatelli, real quick yes or no answers. Are you aware of anything in the government, United States government arsenal that can split a Hellfire missile like this?
No.
And do whatever blob thing it did and then keep going? Nothing?
Nothing.
All right, how about you, Chief Wiggins?
Nothing to my knowledge, ma'am.
Okay, and how about you, Mr. Borland?
I prefer to answer that in a skiff.
Okay, does this video scare you guys? Yes or no?
Yes.
Wiggins?
Yes.
Nat?
I had a different reaction. I was really happy that it got out. Thanks for providing
Curiosity
that.
killed the cat. All right, Mr. Borland?
Yes, for...
Okay. All right, that is the end of my questioning. I'd like to now recognize...
What do you guys think of that? That's pretty profound, wouldn't you say? That is a UAP, or a UFO, splitting a Hellfire missile in two. I guarantee you've probably never seen anything quite like that. It's pretty amazing. I can't believe that, made the air, actually. All right, and one more quick thing. If you remember the other day, they made a big deal about nobody knowing where Barron Trump was. Questions answered. He moved back into the White House as he starts his sophomore year at NYU. Don't have to worry anymore. All right. Before we look at our stuff for tonight, now that we're done with the news, there's one more thing I wanted to look at. We're going to hear some stuff from Derek Johnson, SGN tonight, but since we're on the alien UAP thing, I wanted to give it a quick glance, shall we?
Justin Bieber says the world you think you know is a lie. He claims that behind the velvet ropes and the flashing cameras, he's seen the truth. Music industry bosses and CEOs of global corporations revealing their true form, shape-shifting into reptilians right in front of him. According to Bieber, it wasn't an accident, it was a warning. A reminder of who holds the power and what happens when you try to break free. They wanted me to see, he says. They wanted me to understand that this realm, the reptilian realm, is what controls everything. The labels, the corporations, the governments, everything. And here's the thing, Bieber's not alone. Other stars, other global icons, have whispered eerily similar things. The same reptilian encounters with those in power. Different names, but always the same message. Tonight, we follow Bieber's words down the rabbit hole. Because if Bieber saw what he says he saw, then the people at the top aren't just powerful, they aren't even human. Before we dive in, a quick word about our partner VP.net, the next generation of private browsing. VP.net is the only VPN designed with true zero-logging architecture. That means, unlike other VPNs, it literally can't track you. So even if governments or bad actors come knocking, there's nothing to hand over. It's that simple. your data stays yours, period. Justin Bieber has become the latest in a long line of celebrities to blow the whistle and dare to speak out about the true nature of those holding the most powerful positions on earth. He says royalty, global CEOs, and music moguls, they're not really human at all. They're shape-shifting reptilians. And when they reveal themselves, it's never by accident, it's strategic. A display of dominance. They choose their moments carefully, terrifying just the right person at the right time to make sure they stay in line. And Bieber is not the first. After a private audience with Queen Elizabeth, President Vladimir Putin told aides that she wasn't human. He claimed her hands shifted to scales, her eyes went black, and her frame grew taller and more imposing. To him, it wasn't a queen he was meeting, it was a predator in disguise. Britney Spears, before her battles became public, hinted at something darker. She said that record executives who owned her career would occasionally shift before her eyes, revealing reptilian forms as a way of breaking her will. It wasn't just intimidation, it was ownership.
I went with this one guy and he looked like a lizard. I was so scared. He was sitting there, I turned him, I was like, oh my God. I was like, holy shit, he looks just like a lizard. And I had to go. It was really bad.
So you just left? Wow.
Immediately.
Lady Gaga has whispered about a similar experience. She met Prince Charles in 2016 during the Royal Variety performance in London. Her words were blunt. He was not human. Lady Gaga described Prince Charles as towering, nearly 8 feet tall, with flickering yellow eyes and scaly skin the colour of an iguana. She said that he shifted between this form and his human disguise 2 or 3 times after introducing himself backstage. Later, during her performance of A Million Reasons, she spotted him again in the audience. His face flickered between human and reptile, the glint of sharp teeth flashing in the stage lights. According to Gaga, the transformations weren't random. They were deliberate, calculated displays of power and displays of dominance. A warning not to betray the reptilian Illuminati bloodline he represents. Then there's Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan, who broke the silence on his own encounter with a shapeshifter deep inside the music industry.
You saw someone shapeshift?
Oh, God.
Is it? Is that real, or were you fucking with people?
No, it's true.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
Because when you told me that you enjoy Kaufman-like moments, I was like, okay.
No, it's true. I would tell you off grid, but I won't say it publicly.
Really?
The only way I'd say it publicly is if I write it. And I've been writing this book for years, and it's in the book.
Really?
So I'd tell you off grid, but I can't. Look, I know Alex Jones sat in this seat, you know, right?
Corgan didn't name names, but he told Howard Stern that this was no ordinary member of the elite. He said he watched in shock as somebody he knew and trusted morphed into something that was not human. For a brief moment, the mask was gone, skin shifting, features warping, an unmistakable glimpse of the reptilian form beneath.
Let's just say I was with somebody once and I saw a transformation that I can't explain.
The person transformed into something other than human.
Yes, I saw it.
You were talking to someone. They said to you, look, something's going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to morph into something else.
Imagine you're doing something and suddenly you turn around and there's somebody else standing there.
You still standing by it?
Absolutely. I know it happened. In fact, it happened twice. And on top of that, what's amazing is we live in a world where, look, I've been in public life on some level for 30 years.
Yep.
People treat it as if I'm crazy.
Yeah. The second time you saw a shapeshifter, where were you? Probably at Darcy's house.
It was the same. It was the same person.
Oh, it was.
This happened with the same person twice.
Billy, when will you announce who this person is so I can investigate? Seriously.
I wouldn't name names.
But it's a famous person, right?
I wish it was somebody famous.
Yeah, because then that would be awesome.
Well, I told you in private the story. Could you keep my confidence?
Yes.
All right.
Justin Bieber has now joined the chorus of voices describing the same dark revelation.
All right, I think we're going to move on now. You get the picture. I don't know what the story's about or not. I thought we would peek at it together. Now, we're going to do what we always do and relax to some Patriot content. I know you guys have really been enjoying Jenny lately from the Revival of America podcast. We really haven't heard anything from Derek in a while, so I thought we would check